Do you ever wish your day wasn't dictated by your health? Are you tired of being tired all the time, or is pain holding you back from enjoying your time with your family? Would you like to manage your symptoms holistically, but you just don't know where to begin? I am so excited you're here. This podcast will help you understand how natural remedies work so you can relieve your symptoms and live a fuller life. My name is Penny. I'm an occupational therapist, past pharmaceutical rep, mom, and wife with a strong faith. And for 25 years, I battled through debilitating Crohn's disease. I took all the medicine and did all the surgeries that stole so much of my time with my family, but never truly healed me. I finally realized if I was going to survive this disease, I needed to open my stubborn eyes to alternative solutions. I researched how perfectly our bodies work with plants and a lifestyle that made my health less of a burden to my family and aligned so beautifully with my faith and my medical training. If you're ready to reclaim your life with holistic options that are easy to implement as a busy mom and provide relief that lasts, this is the podcast for you. Hey there, welcome to Becoming Natural, episode 13, A New Life, discovering the astounding impact of iodine on thyroid health. This is Penny Sampler and I am your host, and I am so happy that you are here today. Today, I'm going to chat super high level about the thyroid. There are so many people out there that are way more knowledgeable than I am regarding thyroid issues. I am just here to share my little eye-opening story about my own experience with thyroid disease. In fact, there are even great doctors and practitioners that you can follow on Instagram that I have found to be very informative. If you have suspected thyroid issues, please seek help from someone who is qualified and experienced with how all the hormones work together, and there are quite a few hormones to consider. Last week, I touched a little bit on my frustration with the fact that the only medication I remained taking after years and years of Crohn's disease was my thyroid pill for hypothyroidism. As women chit-chat about things like we do, especially those of us in the health and wellness field, I started to discover that practically everybody I know is on a thyroid pill. Why? Why are we all on thyroid pills? What are we doing to ourselves? What are we ingesting? What are we missing? I had to know. This is when my wire goes on. This is about the same time that I started using the apps that we discussed in episode 12, and I started to see the pattern that practically every health and beauty product I used fell into the, quote, potential endocrine blocker category. The thyroid is part of our endocrine system for the non-medical friends out there. So that's where I started. Perhaps if I removed endocrine blocking ingredients in my daily use products, I could help my endocrine system work more efficiently and thus help my thyroid out a bit. As I ran out of a product, my shampoo, my conditioner, face lotion, skincare, deodorant, every single thing I opened to put on or in my body, I scanned it to see if it was green or good, or red or bad, or anything in between, and I paid particular attention to the potential endocrine blocker piece. As I have replaced each product I use, I make sure that I replace them with not only a healthy product, according to those apps, but certainly one that does not pop up as a potential endocrine blocker. I really don't think that any product would pop up that's good as that is an endocrine blocker, but I watch nonetheless. Right before I started on that path, I had a thermography exam, which is kind of funny how each episode I do, it leads me to, I need to cover that. But I was introduced to thermography as an alternative to the radiographic mammogram because it's radiation-free. Perhaps next week's podcast. Lord knows if radiation is going to kill someone, it's going to be me because I have had far too many x-rays and radiographic tests to count. But if you know better, you do better. So I started on that path this year. Instead of using radiation, thermography measures heat. Heat is energy, and when the body is trying to repair itself by turning over cells, it produces heat. So thermography can actually detect many issues in your body based on where it detects heat. It's very pretty and colorful, like you would imagine a PET scan to be. As you can imagine, my thermography exam produced a glowing red in my neck where my thyroid is. And I was irritated that while I was and had been taking thyroid medicine for 14 to 15 years, there was zero healing. It was still lit up like a stinking Christmas tree. So what was it actually doing for me outside of maybe making me not feel tired? How was it doing that if it wasn't actually helping my thyroid? So down the rabbit hole I went. Very briefly, a little anatomy and physiology lesson, but the thyroid gland is a small butterfly-shaped gland that sits just behind the Adam's apple in your neck. The thyroid's job is to make thyroid hormones, which are secreted into the blood, and then they are carried out into the body, into every tissue in our body. Thyroid hormone helps the body use energy to stay warm and keep the brain, heart, muscles, and others working, all the other organs, as they should. There are a wide range of factors that can interfere with the production of the thyroid hormone and lead to health problems. Factors such as mineral deficiencies, like too much or too little iodine, environmental pollutants or toxins, hormone balance, autoimmune disease, surgical removal of part or all of your thyroid, radiation treatment, even medication can cause issues with your thyroid, damage to the pituitary gland, which tells the thyroid how much hormone to make, and just your general overall health. It is thought that 30 million adults suffer from thyroid dysfunction, and many go undiagnosed. The American Thyroid Association estimates that as many as 60% of the population with thyroid disease are not even aware of it, which that's hard for me to imagine because for me, I felt like I had run into a brick wall, but I know everyone has different symptoms. So there's hypo, which is an underactive thyroid, and hyperthyroidism. So hypothyroidism is an underactive thyroid gland. It means that the thyroid gland can't make enough thyroid hormone to keep the body running normally. People are hypothyroid if they have too little thyroid hormone in the blood. Symptoms of hypothyroidism are weight gain or inability to lose weight despite exercise and diet, a cold intolerance, feeling cold all the time when others do not, low energy and stamina, memory lapses or slow thinking like brain fog type issues, dry, thinning, itchy or scaly skin, dry, brittle or peeling nails, dry, brittle hair or hair loss, irregular bowel habits, menstrual irregularities, inability to conceive, elevated cholesterol, rapid or slow heart rate, muscles or joint aches and pains. Hyperthyroidism, also called overactive thyroid, is a condition where your thyroid makes and releases high levels of thyroid hormone. Symptoms of hyperthyroidism are rapid or irregular heartbeat, sudden or significant weight loss, sweating, even at rest, nervousness or irritability, insomnia, or agitation. Lots and lots of symptoms could be lots and lots of things, but those are things certainly to watch out for if you think you might have a thyroid issue. Statistics show that women are 7 times more likely than men to develop thyroid disease, and you can determine your thyroid levels through a blood test. However, most labs run through an internal medicine doctor are typically dictated by our insurance, and they are typically a high-level look at what our thyroid is and can often reflect a normal result and miss some of the abnormalities in other hormones that affect the thyroid. So a lot of people will say they will go to a functional medicine doctor, or you might have to pay out of pocket for a more thorough investigation into your thyroid hormones. But that said, there are multiple hormones that affect your thyroid that I really will not go into detail about. I'm just going to let you know what they're called, and they include TSH is one that probably most everybody hears about, is the thyroid stimulating hormone. There's free T3, free T4, total T3, T3 uptake, total T4 thyroxine, reverse T3, TPO antibody, and TG antibody. That's a whole lot of hormones that affect your thyroid, and they are all vital and an education in and of themselves for how they work. But that is not my goal today. That's just to show there is a whole lot going on in order to keep your thyroid running perfectly. But your body can't make any of those thyroid hormones without, drumroll please, iodine. The amount of iodine in your system can affect how much thyroid hormone your thyroid produces. Your thyroid gland, part of which is your endocrine system, traps iodine in your system and turns it into thyroid hormones. Did you know that a teaspoon of iodine is all a person requires in a lifetime, but because iodine cannot be stored for long periods of time, small amounts are needed regularly. This was a huge aha moment for me. So, as I listed above, there's many reasons for thyroid issues. This is not necessarily your reason. This is not necessarily all reasons. This is how I opened my eyes to my own thyroid issues. But at the time of my diagnosis of hypothyroidism, I was very sick with an autoimmune disease. I just added it to the long list of diagnoses that I had, and I plugged away. But I have strangely never been diagnosed with actual Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune-related thyroid disease. Many of my sidebar issues in life have been the result of my body not being able to absorb nutrients, either because of chronic inflammation or specific portions of my GI system, which are responsible for absorbing certain nutrients, have been surgically removed. So I don't necessarily absorb things properly because the part of my body that's supposed to absorb it's not there. So the naturopathic doctor that I saw for the thermography exam heard my frustration of taking my thyroid medicine, and he saw how my neck was glowing, and he suggested that we do a very rudimentary test. And 10 years ago, I would have rolled my eyes at the word rudimentary. This time, I was very intrigued. He told me that there are many people who are quickly diagnosed with thyroid disease when their TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, levels are low, when in actuality, they have an iodine deficiency. I was completely dumbfounded. For all these years, I have been taking this pill that apparently was doing very little for the actual problem, and it's possible I just needed to supplement with iodine? Holy Hannah, please tell me more. So he had me roll up my sleeve. This is the rudimentary part. Turn my palm up, and on the inside of my forearm, he had a roller, a Betadine, and rolled a solid square of Betadine on my arm about approximately 6 by 6 inches. That's not specific. But Betadine is the brownish, yellowish stuff they put on you before surgery to kill all the germs on your skin. If you're familiar with that, or if you've had any surgery, you know what I'm talking about. It turns your skin yellow. But the kicker is this. Betadine is iodine. And he told me that the Betadine square should stay on my arm for about 48 hours. And if it faded before 48 hours, more than likely, I was simply iodine deficient and should just take iodine supplements. So I took a picture of my arm as soon as he put the square on, and I waited. Roughly 2 hours later, I looked at my arm, and I kid you not, it was almost completely absorbed. Are you kidding me? I have the pictures to prove it. Only 2 hours, and I was supposed to make it 48 hours. So I returned to his office. He gave me a clean iodine supplement that I will put a link in the show notes, and told me to take 2 drops of iodine twice a day. This is where I have to insert, like I do every week, not all supplements are created equal. Many, many companies create ineffective supplements that contain filler ingredients or nasty stuff with little or no proof of efficacy. So make sure that you find a clean, efficacious iodine. You can certainly get the one that I link to. You can get whatever product you want. I just want you to be aware that not all iodine is the same. So almost immediately after I started taking 2 drops in the morning, 2 drops at night, I noticed I didn't feel so sluggish. I don't know exactly how long ago that was, but at least 9 to 12 months. Within a week, I stopped taking my thyroid medicine altogether. And please note, this too is not advisable. I have had so many issues and so many doctor's appointments in my life. On top of working in the medical field, I tend to self-medicate or am really bad at self-not medicating. But in that time, I have been to my internal medicine doctor because I did want to do regular lab work to test my thyroid and make sure that my thyroid was working. You never want to get in a position where your thyroid is not working. And while I have always been on the low side of, quote, normal for my thyroid with medication, I was actually right smack dab in the middle of normal without my thyroid medication, but with the iodine supplement. So normal has never been a word used to describe my health. I am 100% used to being the unicorn. I'm actually due for a refill for my thyroid pills that I no longer take, but I still love to get the blood tests to make sure I'm okay. And I requested a full blood test on my thyroid, all hormones included. I can't wait to get those results after doing this for almost a year now because I feel great. And typically when I tried to stop taking my thyroid pill in the past, when my doctor said, give it a shot, I just bonk. I went way down. Like my fatigue is the first sign for me that I am not doing well without my thyroid medicine. I cannot emphasize enough that iodine is needed in such small amounts. It's actually somewhat crazy how small, yet what a huge difference it makes in our bodies when they're out of whack. So taking a bunch of iodine at once can actually have a very negative effect on your body as well. Please, 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 if you choose to do this method, be under the watchful eye of a practitioner that knows what they're talking about. Another way I read that you can treat yourself for iodine deficiency, instead of taking the drops into your tongue, is simply just to keep putting that yellow square of betadine inside your forearm every day. And then when it stops absorbing, then your body is not thirsting for it like it did initially, and you don't need it as much. It will absorb what it needs. Yet another miraculous piece of our divine design. This is also a great rudimentary way for me to test myself as well now. So put it on, see if it still absorbs, and compare it to how it worked the first time. So diet in a normal and healthy human is the sole source of iodine. We do not produce it in our bodies. I've touched on this previously with trace minerals. Iodine is a trace mineral because we need it, but in very, very small amounts. The coastal regions of the world are much richer in iodine content than the soils further inland. Here, the problem gets more compounded by continuous leaching of iodine from the soil. Therefore, the crops grown in such soil remain iodine deficient. Even groundwater in these areas is deficient in iodine, and that comes from a study that I'll link in the show notes. So here we are. I am in Kansas City in the landlocked center of the United States. No ocean water close by. So that is yet another assumption of why I might have a depletion of iodine in my diet. The three most common sources of iodine include in your food. Iodine is found naturally in soil and the ocean, as I mentioned. So good food sources of iodine include fish and seafood, dairy products, eggs, and soy-based foods. Iodized salt. Iodine is commonly added to table salt, but check the label to make sure because not all types of salt are iodized, including Himalayan salt, kosher salt, and sea salt. Ironically, all the three salts that I use. And dietary supplements. Multivitamins, prenatal vitamins, they all may contain some iodine, and iodine-specific supplements are also available. It is stated that iodine deficiency is uncommon in the U.S. However, the doctor I saw and what I have read, it is reported otherwise. It could be that our root cause of thyroid issues are changing as our soil is overused, depleting the minerals and not replacing them. It could be that chronic inflammatory disease does prevent the absorption of our basic minerals, and chronic inflammation is certainly skyrocketing. Our diets are lacking from over-processed foods. I am sure there are a number of reasons we're not getting even the tiniest amounts of iodine that we need. To tie this up with a bow, not all thyroid issues are caused by an iodine deficiency. Everyone's thyroid issues are unique. But iodine is the powerhouse of producing hormones in the body to make the thyroid function. Iodine is stored in the thyroid, and when your thyroid is deficient in iodine, your body knows to pull iodine from other organs where it can be found in smaller amounts, like the stomach lining, apparently our salivary glands, lactating mammary glands, and in the blood. So then what happens when those areas have depleted their iodine supply because they're providing it for the thyroid? We start showing more symptoms that might seem unrelated to our thyroid completely, but they are completely related to iodine deficiency. Our bodies are truly, fearfully, and wonderfully made, just like it says in Psalms 139:14. It's truly amazing, the more you study the body, what a delicate balance of nutrients we exist upon. And to imagine if we could just get a handle on that balance, how we were designed to be and eat the food we were designed to eat, can you imagine how incredible we all could feel? I know it sounds crazy to say I'm lucky, but when my Crohn's was progressing to the severe stage, I wouldn't get sick instantly. I didn't know what made me feel bad. I used to pray for the pain to be connected to the food I ate so I would just know better what I shouldn't eat. That prayer was answered and it became quite miserable pain. But part of that is because part of my pain came from food trying to squeeze through the narrow openings of the many strictures that I had throughout my small intestine. But as I have had more surgeries and piece by piece, I had parts of my intestine and stomach removed, I am now very clear as to what I should and shouldn't eat. I still claim and believe that I am healed from Crohn's, but so many parts of our intestines are responsible for absorbing specific nutrients, and I don't have those parts anymore. So while I have zero pain, praise the good Lord, I have been told I would struggle with what's called short gut syndrome, which basically means I have less of a system for food to process through, so it will move through faster. But ultimately, if I eat well, I have zero issues. If I eat unhealthy, greasy, or sugary foods, I get nauseous or I feel bad, or I need to use the restroom pronto. It took a very long time for my stubborn self to relent, but I finally determined I was tired of feeling bad because of food I chose to eat. I was hurting myself. So I finally quit eating the things that made me feel bad. Common sense for most, but for a girl who has always just wanted to be normal, I hated monitoring my food. I wanted to eat what I wanted to eat, and food is so social everywhere we go. Food is the center of all of our activities. But now I get it. I am lucky. I am lucky because I know how much better I feel when I eat food that actually nurtures my body versus food that truly is toxic and only results in my feeling bad. For those of you who struggle with your thyroid or have thyroid symptoms, I would encourage you to just give the Betadine test a shot. I'll link up the Betadine in the show notes in case you aren't sure exactly what Betadine is, and I'll also link up the iodine supplement that I use, and I wish you the best of luck. This has been such an eye-opening experience for me that I've been able to get off a prescription medication, and I just simply take iodine on a daily basis. I hope it works for you. Have a great day. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take 30 seconds to leave a review and share it with a friend? It helps me help someone else, and reviews are the best way to do that. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll meet you back here for another episode next week.